This is the Forbes Books Podcast, conversations with amazing humans who are impacting the world of business and beyond. Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila, and the kids are back at school, so now is the perfect time to check back in with Andr, the 23rd president of the College of Charleston. We're going to get into the school's evolving relationship with AI, CFC's skyrocketing popularity, and a look at the strategies and decisions college leaders must navigate to maintain excellence and opportunity in the face of rapid changes and surging demand. Dr. Chu, welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well. This was our first week of class, and everything's a little bit hectic on campus right now.
I can only imagine. So we spoke a year ago, and to set some context, we finished up our conversation talking about AI. Last year was essentially the first full year that large language models like ChatGPT were pretty pervasive in college life. I mean, we all know it premiered the November before, but this was the first full year. Now we're year two. Let's look back at year one. How did it go? And what was the college's relationship with AI?
I think last year when I talked to you, I said, for higher education, there are two aspects. The first one is how do we use AI to better serve our students and become a more efficient institution? Of course, the second one is how do we educate our students so that they're AI literate when they graduate? I think certainly as far as the first aspect is concerned, we made great progress over the last year. I mentioned the chatbot that we have deployed, Clyde the Cougar, that talks to our students and 50,000 messages sent to Clyde the Cougar asking questions about anywhere from where to get a book to where to get help on academics or emotional issues. In addition to that, we're also using AI in many of our administrative areas, such as marketing and communications, admissions, and so forth. So we're making great progress in terms of applying AI to serve students and serve the university. But the next important thing really is how do we educate our students? Because the saying is that AI will not replace jobs, but people who use AI will replace those who don't or who can't.
Right.
We want our students to be those who are replacing other people and not the ones who are going to be replaced. Our faculty have started a campus-wide committee through our Teaching and Learning Center. We're looking at ways to incorporate AI into our general curriculum in all areas, whether it's STEM related or just general liberal art or business classes. We, of course, also want to safeguard our assessments of student performance against improper use of AI, but that, I think, is just a sort of a side issue. The main focus is going to be on how do we actually teach our students how to use AI and how to apply AI in their specific discipline.
And I know you kind of alluded to there about sort of the dark side of all of this is the fact that some students may use AI for nefarious reasons, which is, cut corners, plagiarize things. Over the last year, how has, for lack of a better word, like police students, like how has that worked within classes of preventing kids? And again, this is not a blanket thing, but I'm sure this is a lot of things that educators worry about these days. It's like, oh, geez, here we go again. First, it was the calculator, then it was the internet, and now it's AI. So we have this pattern of like when a new technology arises, educators are like, oh my God, all these students are going to cheat. We all know that not all will, but some will. So what are you doing about that scenario?
Indeed, it has become a problem, not for all classes and all students, but certainly in select cases. And obviously, there are many different ways to detect cheating using AI. And one, of course, is to simply use software to ask if this essay is written by AI or not. And oftentimes that caused controversies and so forth. And our faculty are also developing methods of their own to identify, potential AI usage. And I think right now our faculty prefers to keep those still a secret. And in fact, we were involved in a recent case where a student is being disciplined for inappropriate use of AI. And the student is saying, I didn't use AI. And
this is happening at CFC?
Yes. This happened very recently. In fact, this was resolved maybe only about a month ago, when the faculty members talked about how they and why they think this particular student actually used AI, and here's the proof. It was fairly conclusive, and it's a very smart way to identify that, but the faculty right now is trying to keep it a secret, and they didn't want students to know.
Okay. What does that mean it was resolved?
Well, it means we conclusively determined that this student indeed used AI, and then it was then sent to a student discipline committee and asked that committee to decide whatever disciplinary action that is appropriate for the inappropriate use of AI.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, just for my sake, has there been a discipline? Has been anything played out in that case, or is it still ongoing?
Yeah, I think there had been ones that had been played out, and essentially the student is given an F if that's found out, because in the syllabus, the faculty explicitly said that for these assignments, you can't use AI.
Got it.
And if you do, then you're going to get an F. And that's essentially what happened.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, that's good. And I know you mentioned that there's like these secret underground way of you guys to detect it. But as you know, Dr. Xu, better than I do, a lot of these AI detectors are not great. They have not caught up to the level of AI. And not the fact that they're not good at detecting. Sometimes they overcorrect. So they can see something as, spell check triggering its sensors that, oh, there's AI involved here. And it was just like spell check. So it's not perfected. And I'm not going to expect you to unveil your sources of how you guys do it. But good luck to you, because I know it's a big problem that's going to be taking over college campus. And another problem that the last time we spoke about, Dr. Xu, is CFC is getting too damn popular. You are outgrowing your footprint. So I know the last time we talked, it was about, lack of apartments, campus housing. What is 2024, 2025 looking like in terms of how gosh darn big CFC is getting, Dr. Xu?
Yeah, so as I probably mentioned last time, we're a city, downtown university, landlocked, and have very limited number of beds on campus, and therefore we could hardly grow. So despite the fact that we have seen a tremendous increase in interest, as I mentioned last time, we went from 12,000 applicants about 5 years ago to now 32,000 applicants for this incoming class, or the class that just came.
Yeah.
We intentionally kept our freshman class small so that we can adequately accommodate them. Overall, our enrollment only rose about 2.5% over last year. We were able to accommodate, fortunately, every student. Unlike last time, we were sort of struggling with not enough beds. And as a result of that popularity, I guess one thing that happened is that we invariably become a lot more selective. We actually went from about 84% admit rate 5 years ago to now 60% admit rate, and still going down. So it's just getting harder and harder for students to get into the College of Charleston, unfortunately.
And could you just share with us that admission rate? That's a pretty big drop. My math's not good, but that's about 20%. Is that normal for schools, or is this an outlier?
No, this is definitely not normal for schools. For most presidents, if they can reduce their admit rate by a couple of percentage point every year, that would be great. And because of our popularity, just last year alone, we have seen a 12% drop in our admit rate just over 1 year. That
Wow.
is very, very unusual, unfortunately.
I mean, it's a good problem to have, I guess.
Good problem to have for us, not a good problem to have for our students who
Yeah.
are hoping to come here.
Yeah. And what do you think that is? I mean, it's, as you know, I've been living in Charleston now for 4 years, and I get it. I mean, it's a great place to live. It's, you know what I love about it, Dr. Shu, is it's become sort of like this southern melting pot where you have people from all over the country coming here and then staying. I think I might have shared to you last time, the running joke is no one's from Charleston. They came to CFC Estate or they came here for a man and woman estate. Like, that's essentially the population of Charleston now. It's all these people that have come here because either family, love, or school. So I get it. But why do you think people are so attracted to the school itself? Because we all know the city's awesome. We get it.
So certainly the city being popular is one of the reasons. But on the other hand, I do think that CFC was a hidden gem before, but now it's just better known, partially because of the city's popularity. We're the oldest university in South Carolina and 13th oldest in the country. So we have this history of academic excellence. Many years ago, outside of the South, really, it's not that well known, but we certainly have had a outstanding effort from our division of enrollment planning in marketing our brand and make it known our academic excellence. And in fact, there are several things that we have done also made our campus more popular. One is we have recently developed several new academic programs that are meeting students' needs. We have a new School of Engineering, a new School of Health Sciences, and we have enhanced our business education. So those are sort of the professional programs that these days students are looking for. And on top of that, we were recently admitted into an honor society, Phi Beta Kappa, which is the most prestigious liberal arts honor society in the country.
Wow.
Only 293 universities in the nation belong to Phi Beta Kappa, and that is only 7% of the higher education institutions in the country. So doing all of these things have really increased the recognition of our academic excellence.
That's so cool. So it's not just the barbecue. It's more than that. It's you guys are doing.
It's not just the barbecue. It's not just the beaches. It's not just the historical downtown. It's not just our most beautiful campus in the country. It's also academic excellence.
Sounds awesome. I want to go back a little bit because it just hit me because this is the Forbes Books podcast. We do a lot of business podcasts here, and I feel like, the idea of you having to turn people away, for most entrepreneurs in a business, that's anathema. It's like, we want all the people. So do you have powers that be? Maybe it's a board or something. Please explain like the hierarchy, but is there a hierarchy that says like, hey, Dr. Shu, we turn that's a lot of money we're turning away. How do you balance that?
Yeah. The hierarchy is that we're a state institution and the state legislature and the governor appoints a board of trustees. And I, as the president of the university, report to a 20-person board. They're essentially my boss, right? Clearly, this is an issue. So we're trying to do something, and our board is very supportive of us doing something so that would allow us to grow in a very controlled manner. As I mentioned, our biggest difficulty really is student housing. And now we have a very good plan to increase student housing by 1,200 beds, which is significant in our case. That would be an increase of 33% on this campus. So this is probably going to be a 2 to 3 year project. At the end of the 3 years, we will be able to grow slightly. But again, we're not like a rural campus where you have unlimited space. And we will, unfortunately or fortunately to us, have to become more and more selective, which is also appropriate for a 254-year-old institution.
Awesome. Cool. Good stuff. Let's talk about some of those academics that you mentioned. One of the things that I'm hearing about this term I've never heard about before, maybe just being the Gen Xer, micro-credentials. Tell me about micro-credentials and how you're helping students with that.
Sure. So interestingly enough, these days, it doesn't matter what your interest is in as a student and what you're majoring. You need certain skills in order to be successful in today's economy. And as you know, living here, we have really become, instead of just a pure tourist destination, we're now a high-tech center and a high-tech manufacturing center. So whatever is your major, you will need to have a certain tech fluency in order to function these days. So micro-credentials is becoming big for a lot of the employers. For example, if you have a philosophy degree, for example, but you have a micro-credential in data analytics, all of a sudden your philosophy degree becomes so much more marketable. In fact, there are studies that shows that you typically would get $20,000 or $30,000 more as a first offer if you have one of those micro-credentials. So this is what we have started on our campus about a year and a half ago. We partnered with a online education platform.
It's Coursera, right?
Coursera, yeah. Indeed. It's one of those Stanford spin-offs from the MOOC era, which is massively open online courses, that period. We have now more than 30 micro-credentials available to our students, but not only to our students, but also to our alums, who we hope are lifelong learners, right? So they range from data sciences to cybersecurity to project management to UX design and so on and so forth. So they're free to everyone on campus and also free to all of our alums. And they can spend anywhere between 15 to 30 hours online and get a micro-credential that would allow them to be so much more desirable on the job market. In addition to just making them available, particularly this summer, we actually had a concerted effort in helping our faculty members to incorporate or a series of micro-credentials into their existing courses. So if you're, for example, teaching a political science class and you incorporated a data analytics course, that is very relevant to any political scientist, right? And it relevant to the courses that our faculty are teaching. So those are some of the things that we're intentionally incorporating these micro-credentials into our campus.
And what's the reaction been from kids? Because as you know, and even adults are like this too, it's like, I just have no time. I have no time to do anything else. Have they shown initiative to sign up for these classes? Because I know this is a generation that's used to online learning anyway, so it's not like they've got to figure out how that works. They know it. So, but are they into it?
Yeah, certainly. We have seen a very enthusiastic initial cohort of students who signed up for some of these micro-credentials, especially those students who are in their junior or senior year. They start to think about, where do I look for a job and what skills do I need to find the job that I really want. And those are the ones who are taking advantage of this. But my hope is that, if it's part of a class, then the student will benefit from it, whether they like it or not. And our hope is that once it's embedded into classes, then more students will be graduating with micro credentials.
That's awesome. And obviously you've made it clear that people know about CFC now. But you're not staying pat. You're adding schools to an already successful curriculum. Tell me about the new engineering school.
Sure. So interestingly enough, I mentioned earlier, we're now a manufacturing center. We have the largest Boeing plant here in town outside of Tacoma, Washington, and we have the Volvo plant, Bosch, Mercedes-Benz, and so on and so forth. And they all need good engineers. So we have established an industry advisory council, and that industry advisory council has been helping us developing these engineering programs. And the first 3 programs we now have is software engineering, systems engineering, and the electrical engineering. And then we obviously have a couple of manufacturing engineering and so forth in the pipeline that is scheduled to come online next fall. So our goal is not to compete with the larger research engineering programs like Georgia Tech or MIT. Our goal is to focus on industry. How do we prepare the best engineers that our local industry is looking for?
And pardon me, because I didn't know that even kids went to CFC for engineering, but how big of a footprint do you have in that engineering space? Is this something that you've slowly but surely started evolving with, or how long has engineering been part of the CFC fabric?
Right. So engineering program really only has been in existence for the last 4 years.
Okay.
Right now, we actually have an entire building that is on the water. If you know Charleston, we're on Harbor Walk, which is right next to the aquarium. That entire building is now dedicated to our new School of Engineering.
Are kids into it? Because like I said, people come to CFC for a lot of reasons, but again, I didn't realize engineering. What's your engineering student class looking like?
Yeah, so because it's only been 4 years, it's relatively small, right? Maybe we have a little over 100 students in the 3 disciplines, but certainly students are into it. And this freshman class, we had a much bigger freshman class in engineering. In fact, interestingly enough, just about an hour ago, I was out there handing out swags to our students, and a student just came by and wanted to thank me for bringing engineering to the College of Charleston. And he said he's now a senior, but he was able to study engineering because we started it here, and he came in with no engineering discipline that he liked here, and now he is really enjoying software engineering.
Oh, that's so great. Great story. Thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned freshmen. So 2,275 freshmen just started. It's probably one of your biggest freshman class in school history. And I know you've probably given a sort of a state of the union, so to speak, to incoming students. But for folks that are listening to this and they have like a freshman going to school, a freshman in college, listen to this. What's some advice for that freshman walking in and in a very intimidating world? A lot of these kids, especially pandemic kids, didn't spend a lot of time outside of their home, maybe a couple of years in a classroom. This is a lot. It's going to be a lot for a lot of people, Dr. Xu. So what words of wisdom, advice do you have for this incoming freshman class?
Sure. So, I gave our students the same advice I gave 4 of my daughters when I sent them off to college. That is, get involved and participate. In fact, I talked to them during convocation this Monday, and I said, if there's one thing that you need to remember is that you need to participate, because that's the only way that you can be successful on the university campus. On the university campus as a new college student, there are 2 things that you need to be successful. Of course, one is inside the classroom, your academics, and the other, which I think is even more important, is outside of the classroom, your social life, your activities with your friends, outside of the classroom on, tennis court or soccer field and so forth. So I encourage them to participate in campus life, and that's probably the best advice I could give to any new student.
Awesome. That's great. Well, it's always great catching up with you, Dr. Xu. CFC is definitely something that, before I moved down here, I kind of vaguely knew about. And then you come down here and realize that literally everyone who lives here probably went to CFC or knows somebody who went to CFC. So it does have quite the impact on the community. And it's, like you said, it's a beautiful campus. I always, when I drive by with my wife, I feel like, have we driven through a casting call for a college movie set in 2000? You have all your students are good looking. They're walking around tanned and looking fantastic. I feel like I've driven it through a modeling shoot every time I drive through campus. So I don't know how you're doing that. I mean, it's just a lot of good looking people living their best life and hopefully preparing for the future. So thank you again for the time, Dr. Xu, and hopefully look forward to talking to you next year.
Well, thank you, Joe. Such an honor to speak to your audience.
And that'll do it for another Forbes Books podcast. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. You can always connect with me on X, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Joe Pardavila. And please don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adios.